Hello and welcome to 3Q's and U, the combination interview and game show that's so easy they even let me host it. My name is Maia Kelley, and I'm an associate professor of mathematics at the College of Western Idaho. Tonight, two teams of students will try to score points by getting our special guest to pick their questions to answer in 3 exciting rounds of gameplay. So let's bring our guest on now. It is my honor to introduce CWI's new president, Gordon Jones. Welcome, President Jones.
Thanks, Maya. It's great to be here and on the show.
Thank you for taking the time to spend with us, especially as you're clearly busy moving out and about. Before we get started, I wanted to ask, you and I both moved here from the Boston area most recently. In fact, I think we might have been working very close to each other for a little while. So my question for you is this: how many speeding tickets did you get here before you got used to driving again in Idaho? Any?
Interestingly, I did experience Idaho through a speeding ticket. And my first, immediately as soon as I got my license plates, I was driving home. It was a wonderful warm day, and I was going what I believed to be a normal speed. And lo and behold, I saw out of the blue, I was enjoying the sunshine, looking at traffic, windows were open, it was fairly warm. And I thought, oh, there's an interesting car coming at me. Oh, that's what a police car looks like in the city of Boise. And no sooner had I passed by that police officer than they pulled a UE, pulled me over and said, you know what speed you're going? And I said, I got to be honest, I thought I was just moving along at a normal speed. Well, it turned out it was 15 miles an hour over. And I learned a very important lesson, which is I was the one ultimately with the issue, because I always want to drive at the reasonable speed of Idahoans. What made me so friction filled that I felt the need? But that was my story, and it was early here.
I feel that with my soul. That's happened. Exact thing happened to me. There's this overwhelming urge to go as fast as you can so that you don't inconvenience other people. And
Yes.
you need to leave that behind. So anyway, thank you for that.
What I've admired about and I enjoy most about Idaho is there's a willingness to embrace working hard, but also enjoying what we live in, the natural resource environment, the kind of ability to take a walk, perhaps, outside later in the evening, the way of the sunshine, where we sit in the time zone compared to where the Eastern time zone where I was originally coming from to Boise. I find there is a frenetic pace that is more present in other places, and maybe where I came from and where you and I are both from most recently. So that's probably the biggest positive cultural shock experience, I would say. And that would be my answer.
It's the idea that you can go to bed in the summer and the sun is still up is is pretty neat.
True. Although you get to go to work in the winter in the dark, and that's a little different too.
Yes. Everything is a trade-off. Well, on with the game. Let's meet tonight's captains. Representing Team Green, it's Brian Rogers, graduating with his marketing degree next week. Congratulations, Brian. So what's next for you?
Same thing that I've told a lot of people recently. I'm hoping to finally get started with a career and sort of gain a bit more independence and, finally get started with what I feel would be the next stage of my life.
That's very exciting. I'm envious that you're at that point. And here's the Team Gold captain, Caitlin Chase. You'll get your degree next year. What do you like about your program so far?
I've been really loving the professors. I've been really loving the professors, and it's just a really artistic career in general. So I really like the content.
So here are the questions for round 1. President Jones, these are dealing with your experience in academic administration. I've randomized the questions, like any good math professor would do. And so we all know it's completely fair. The first question is, How will your time at BSU and Harvard influence your vision for CWI's future? The second question is, what's your proudest accomplishment as dean at BSU?
It's hard to pick one. Those are both great questions. I think, and they both frankly deserve an answer, but because of the game, I pick one. So I'm going to choose the first one. And my answer is this. My time at Harvard and Boise State informed me in a couple different ways. What I learned at Harvard is that some universities are very truly so unique that while many individuals think of Harvard through it's Harvard, it's a leading global institution, which is true, it doesn't mean everyone else needs to try to become like them someday. And it's also a little bit metaphorical at the individual level, I would argue. One of the things I'm a big fan of is, what is it, Mark Twain, who always said, stop trying to be like everyone else. They're already taken. And I think it applies to higher ed, which is, and I say that because I find many higher ed administrators kind of designing in ways that they're kind of hoping, what I call maybe in 200, they have their 200-year plans to become Harvard. And Harvard's very unique, and I don't think it warrants someone else trying to be like it because it's already taken. I think at Boise State, my real passion, and both of these informed my CWI, both love for and privilege to be serving as president, is that public higher education, Boise State being a public higher ed institution, it's Harvard's private, it's designed to serve people who are looking to try to grow their dreams and aspirations into reality. And often that looks like, because it's a public institution, we should be striving to be as accessible and as focused on including as many people in that journey, because we being public universities or colleges are designed to invite as many people as possible, I would argue, not as few. And that's a distinction of public universities, although some of them in their 200-year plan to try to become Harvard, I do that in air quotes, have actually become quite exclusive, and they're very hard to actually get into and have access to. But what I also learned, and Boise State's not alone, is it's really hard to maintain affordability when you define yourself in broad terms. And I'm not here to speak about Boise State sort of beyond that, but what I'd say is they both have informed what I think represents the CWI of today that I'm proud to step into a leadership role in. But also, it shows a little bit of a window into where I believe, in partnership with the committed faculty and staff and students and the public, which looks like mayors and representatives, is if we focus on highly affordable, quality education that empowers our students, which for most students involves employment or a way they can showcase what they've learned so they can grow their lives, become active citizens, have voice, live and realize the options that, frankly, many people around the world are still would wish to have in their countries, and if not, might want to try to still come to a place like this country. So we have a responsibility at CWI, and I know it's something I share with faculty, that we're deeply committed to those students, as all students, for affordable education that leads to empowerment. So that's maybe a longer answer than you thought. Both are great questions, but that's how Harvard and BSU informed what I think is the great CWI I get to step into, and hopefully a journey that's going to, I like to say, make our grandchildren proud that the students who are here on this class and others, that their grandparents went to CWI.
Fantastic. So that's the interview part of this game. Let's get to the game part of this game. Green or gold? Whose question was that? Green. 1 point to green. Congratulations. So can you give us some background on what made your team create that question, Brian?
Absolutely. So this is something that I'm always personally learning about, but something that the Professor Dan Garrity, keeps reminding me is that you really can't try to say this has less value or this has less focus than anything else. And I think the same thing can be said for colleges. I mean, at the end of the day, while some people will probably be saying like, oh, Harvard, it's supposed to be this big and like exclusive college, at the same time, education can come from anywhere, and the same quality can come from a college that you're paying $100,000 a year to attend, or you're paying, a couple thousand, such as a community college here. And I feel like when we're getting such high quality education at this location, the ambition should still equally be as impressive, or so the future plans can be as ambitious as they could be at any other place. So that's sort of what guided me and my team towards coming up with that answer, or rather that question.
Thank you. President Jones, this question has to do with your time as a teacher. So our first question is, did you like being the student or the educator more? And our second question is, describe a time in your teaching career that a student taught you a lesson.
I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to choose the second question because they're both, again, both have ways we can both share knowledge, share experience, and ultimately learn. But, one of the things that in my first job after graduating from college, I had the privilege to be a math teacher on a small rural high school in northern Arizona. It's 140 students. And I had the privilege of teaching algebra and geometry. And I was a first-time teacher. And I will tell you, I had a student, and I don't remember his name right now. And by the way, I've learned from students throughout my career, but I want to pick something that hopefully shows that we all have something to learn. In some cases, it's really big lessons. I had a student who again, this is 30 years ago. So there was different teaching styles, and this was high school. And I remember I had a student who had a backpack in class. And that student, at the end of class, I had been feeling like that backpack, I can't remember all the context, but for some reason I had asked the student to leave their backpack down on the ground, not on their desk, and it was interfering in some activity we were doing, or I believed it. I believed it was, and the student wouldn't do it. The student looked at me and just, for whatever reason, I don't know whether it was defiance or was having a bad day, didn't hear me. Although I think the person heard me. But I remember ending up in a very confrontational situation where I was effectively saying, I want you to drop the backpack. No, I won't. Drop, put it to the ground. No, yes, no, yes, no. And I'm obviously, that's not exactly how the dialogue went, but my point was, what I looked back, and after the student left and I learned at a certain point, I just released them, but I was very upset, in some cases, taking it very personally. And, as I reflected on it, and I had a great mentor who was a much more experienced teacher with me, and I was replaying that experience. The real insight there was, one, as an educator, at one level I was thinking, how did I let it get there? But the second thing I really learned is, it's not about me. It's about the student in front of me. And I missed recognizing that. And I was so focused on, let's say, getting through the lesson plan or the content I wanted to cover, that I missed a moment to meet someone who clearly was not having their best day. It didn't mean that they were right, but it didn't mean that I had to make it a high confrontation, because I was the teacher in that situation. I had a chance to show that I do care about students, and I did then. But I really learned at the beginning of this journey, this is why I have so much respect for faculty and teachers who for lifetimes been in the classroom, and I still do teach occasionally, but it is a true craft and it is a true skill and a testament to be able to give of yourself and do it in a way that is always, for those that are real professionals at it, do it with a student-centered and a student-first mindset. And so it's a real hard lesson. I wish, of course, I could go back. I don't remember the student's name, but it's a gift that that student was able to give me anonymously, and I hope they're doing great and living a wonderful life. And I hope they actually don't remember the story, because that means it really didn't have a very big deal on them, but it made a mark on me.
So once again, green or gold? Who gets the point for question 2? Green again. That's 2 points for green.
Kate, I'm sorry. I don't know these questions. They're both great. So I'm not being fair here, I guess. I don't know, but you're asking great questions, Kate.
Not a problem. So Brian, did you have any context for that as to why you folks asked that?
Well, I think a lot of us can understand that we're always learning. There's always new lessons to have, especially when we are trying to teach other people. So from someone who's had such a long and sort of experienced career, I was curious what sort of experiences he would have had during his time, all across the country, where he would have experienced something of that quality or that caliber.
Okay. Well, all is not lost, Team Gold, because our next question is our wild card question. It is worth 3 points. So this gives you the ability to come from behind and take the whole thing. So our wild card question is, first question, would you lace up the skates and play if CWI did a benefit hockey game? And wildcard question number 2 is, which is more difficult, leading a college or raising 4 children under the age of 15?
Whichever question I don't pick, I'm happy to follow up offline and answer your question and or any others in case I didn't answer them, because these are great questions. I'm going to go with the first. And the answer is really simply, I would do it for CWI, but I got an honest confession to make. I have 2 hip replacements. So in the event I ever did it, the rules are don't touch the president, and I do 1 shift and I'm off the ice to cheerlead.
All right. So did we have a come from behind win, or did Team Green take it? It happened. Congratulations, Team Gold. Getting that wild card. Okay, well, we've learned some things tonight. Not the least that we should treat the president as a red shirt quarterback if we ever play hockey together. That was the latest edition of 3Q's&U. Thank you so much for your time, President Jones, and thank you very much for your wonderful questions to our 2 teams. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you, and we'll see you in the next episode.